No guy can resist a sweet, innocent-looking girl. Today, I'm going to tell you about the strangest girl I've ever met. But before I begin, please don't forget to leave a like if you enjoy Midnight Fear stories. I'm a 28-year-old man, and I work for a large real estate company. My company assigned me to a project in a beautiful but extremely remote area near one of the isolated villages. When my mom found out I'd be staying there alone, she got worried, just like any mother would. But I actually enjoy being alone and having some peace and quiet, especially since I'd recently broken up with my girlfriend. I thought this would be the perfect chance to clear my head and try to forget about her. I arrived early Sunday morning. A company employee named Jack welcomed me, showed me around the entire area, and took me to the house where I'd be staying. The house sat on top of a hill, with nothing around it except massive mountains and steep valleys. Still, the view from my bedroom window was absolutely breathtaking. During the day, I stayed busy with work and my daily responsibilities, but at night, everything became completely silent except for the sound of the wind and the chirping of crickets. Other than that, there wasn't a single sound after sunset. The first week passed without any problems, and I actually started enjoying my quiet, isolated life. But then, everything suddenly changed. One night, I woke up to the sound of someone humming. I listened carefully. It was the voice of a young woman, softly humming a strange melody. She sounded incredibly close to the house. I figured she had to be a girl from the nearby village, but it seemed strange that she'd be wandering around the hills so late at night. Honestly, I was so sleepy that I decided to ignore it and went back to sleep. The next day, I finished work early and was heading back to the house when I ran into Jack. We talked about work for a while, and then I asked him if anyone lived near the house. He suddenly looked uncomfortable and said, "No, no one lives anywhere near here. Why do you ask?" I replied, "Last night I woke up because I heard a girl singing down in the valley." Well, she wasn't exactly singing, she was humming a really strange melody. He stayed quiet for a few seconds before saying, "It was probably just the echoes of animals in the valley. Sounds travel around here. I'm sure there wasn't anyone." After that, he stayed silent for the rest of the drive. He didn't say another word. The way he reacted and how quickly he denied it made me even more curious about who she really was. That night, I decided to leave the house and find out for myself. Around 2 in the morning, I heard the humming again, the exact same female voice. I stepped out onto the balcony. The night was dark and thick fog covered everything. I couldn't see anything except the towering mountains and the pale moonlight. Then I saw her. A young woman was standing near my house, staring directly at me with a gentle smile. Honestly, her smile was shy, warm, and strangely captivating. I have no idea how long I stood there just looking at her. Then she started humming again. She slowly raised her hand and waved at me, as if she were saying, "Hello." I smiled and called out, "Hi, do you need any help? Are you okay?" She didn't answer. She just kept standing there, smiling. She wasn't unbelievably beautiful, but there was something about her that completely drew me in. Her smile, her long hair dancing in the wind, her shyness, and that beautiful voice. She waved at me again. This time, I couldn't resist. I walked out of the house to meet her. She was standing only a few yards away. The air was freezing cold, but I couldn't take my eyes off her. I wanted to know who she was. She laughed softly. The sound of her laughter echoed throughout the valley. I smiled to myself. Well, at least she laughed. Then she spoke in the softest voice. "I'm lost, and it's so dark. Could you please help me?" I couldn't bring myself to say no. I simply nodded. She looked at me again and quietly said, "My house is down in the valley. I'm scared to go there alone. Would you come with me?" I don't know what came over me, but before I could even answer, my legs started moving on their own. I followed her as she continued humming that beautiful melody. I felt completely hypnotized. She moved so gracefully, it almost looked like she was floating through the air. Her feet barely seemed to touch the ground. We kept walking for what felt like ever. I had no idea how much time had passed. Then she suddenly stopped humming. When I looked up, my heart nearly stopped. I realized she was walking straight toward the edge of a steep cliff, and that's when it hit me. She had been leading me there all along. If I kept following her, I would fall to my death. No one would ever find my body. Terrified, I shouted, "Where are you taking me? Where?" She suddenly turned around. The moment she faced me, her appearance changed completely. Her eyes bulged out, her bones showed through her skin. Then she let out a terrifying, demonic laugh and grabbed my hand with incredible force. I screamed and tried to pull myself free, but she kept dragging me closer and closer to the edge of the cliff. At that moment, I thought this was the end. The only thing on my mind was my mother and how devastated she would be. Then suddenly, I felt someone pulling me backward. A second later, everything went black. When I finally regained consciousness, I opened my eyes and saw Jack standing right in front of me. On the third day after I had recovered enough to stay awake, Jack was sitting beside me while a doctor checked my pulse. Jack looked at me and said, "This place has been haunted for a very long time. A young woman threw herself off these cliffs after her husband cheated on her. Ever since that day, her spirit has remained here. She tries to lure men to the edge of the valley so she can take revenge on them." I didn't say a single word. All I wanted was to recover, leave that place, and never come back. I will never return to those haunted hills again. And yet, even now, I can still hear the sound of that girl's haunting hum echoing inside my head.